Hello, everyone. So, yes, I'm Amandine Le Pape. I'm COO and co-founder of Element. For those who don't know it, we are an open source, of course, end-to-end encrypted and sovereign collaboration platform. It's built on top of Matrix, which our team created as well. And we mostly sell it to governments as a Teams alternative for those who do not want to send unencrypted conversations to the US. I'm also a member of the European Open Source Academy, which has been created in February, and is basically recognizing players in the open source ecosystem so that they can go and promote open source and educate everyone who is using open source software on how to purchase it, make sure that people understand what it is, and basically make sure that open source grows into the world. So basically, this talk is both based on experience and learning, but also trying to change how things work. It's been a recurring theme that open source is good for many reasons today. We all know it, including digital sovereignty. And it's great to see that more and more people are pushing for it. And Yuta was telling us about it this morning. It was also interesting that she highlighted that only 0.5% of the German federal government of software and related services funding actually goes to open source. And that just relates to the fact that we also all know that many of the key open source projects underpinning a lot of the big software in this world are just running on a shoestring if no funding at all and maintained by a single guy or 5 in a garage. The key procurement technique, especially from governments for open source software, I could summarize them under three points. So either people decide to fund developing a feature, or people will contribute code. Otherwise, they would just use the software and not contribute at all, or buy open source software from someone who is just using the open source software and not contributing at all, which sometimes is referred to as freeloading. So, as we all know, none of these actual procurement techniques help funding the projects themselves and make them sustainable. And when we say sustainable open source software, we're talking about maintenance. How do we fix the bugs? How do we maintain a polished user experience? Because if your user-facing software is not as good and as easy to use as proprietary, it will never get used at scale. And how do you make sure that the security of the project is actually maintained? And to be clear, when we say sustainable funding, that means recurring funding. Earlier, I went to several talks upstairs. One of them, Gregor was mentioning the idea of introducing a regulation, for example, mandating funding to open source software that you use. Why not? Regulation is pretty slow route, but honestly, I find it absolutely valid idea. What we're hitting when governments in particular are buying open source software is the procurement framework constraints. So that's where the education part actually comes into play. So, for example, the European Commission was put out I lost the word, a way to feedback on the Procurement Act, basically, last week. And any company, anyone could actually feedback to this to help them shape the Procurement Act. But one of the key things in our perspective is to work directly with the people who are going to buy the open source software. If anyone in this room can actually go and educate the people who are using the software, we need to make sure that they understand why the maintenance is needed. They understand that if they buy software from a given vendor, then there is some funding going to the upstream project. When I went to FOSDEM in February, I was quite struck by the fact that small companies who were working with governments had completely given up. It was like, oh, but yeah, they're funding this feature. Okay, how do you maintain it? I don't know, it's really tough. I can't hire a guy full-time to maintain it. But, well, what do you want me to do? That's how it works, right? They're just a big government. I can't do anything. Well, that's why I'm here. I think that not only we can do something, but also we have no choice. If we actually want open source software to grow, the ecosystem to be stable and secure and polished, then we have no choice. We have to react as a community and educate everyone using the software on how it should be funded. So it was quite refreshing, on the other hand, to hear Jory and Florian earlier from Open Web Docs, I don't know if they're around here, but also trying to teach people so how you need to get, giving tips on how to get funding for one's project. Like, what are the KPIs that your buyers are looking at so that then their champion in the organization can go and take the KPIs and say, oh, we've saved that amount of money because we're using this project. If you gave 10% of what you saved to the project, it will make a huge difference to them. So these are the sort of initiatives we need to work on. And yeah, basically, I think it's something we shouldn't say, oh, I'm just a small project and I'm just facing a big government or a big private organization. We should all be out there pushing for recurring funding. And if everyone is coming at it from the same voice, then eventually the world will change. So just, yeah, well, let's get a line on this. Let's try to pass on the message at every level and get a line on how it should happen so that the change actually works. Thank you.